This is Nostalgia by Scott Alexander Howard in analysis. This is from 2012. And since we were looking at some old videos of philosophy roulette, Viper's Gratitude found this paper for us to read, or for me to read, and for everyone else to do. And we're going to read it. And as always, we are going to review the paper after, and stick around if you're in chat at the end. And if not, if you're at the end, what will happen is it'll go up on this website, like this one from 502, or like what are we on? 508 now. So then it'll go up on this website, and people will be able to see it. And I'm getting this all put together, so this is good. So it's going to be up on a website, and you'll get a public review. First search term was beard wasn't so fruitful. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, as always, let me know. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on, and you let me know if you have any questions. Okay. Nostalgia has become a popular topic of study across various disciplines. It is usually taken for granted in these discussions that we know what we are talking about. In this article, I argue against two dominant accounts of the nature of nostalgia put forward by philosophers and other writers in the humanities and social sciences. These views assume that nostalgia depends, in some way, on comparing a present situation with the past one. Oh, that's weird. I don't think so. I think you don't need a present situation to be nostalgic for some other situation. You just need a generic it isn't like it used to be. It doesn't need to be this one. It just doesn't need, as long as the thing that has passed is no longer coming back, you can be nostalgic for it. It doesn't mean that like today's any worse though, but yeah. However, neither does justice to the full range of recognizably nostalgic experiences available to us, in particular Proustian nostalgia directed at involuntary autobiographical memories. While the immediate purpose of this article is to clarify the intentionality of a paradigmatic but neglected emotion type, certain episodes of Proustian nostalgia also raise questions about how to evaluate emotions that are self-consciously directed at non-veridical memories. I will conclude by briefly considering this issue. That's a good point. This non-veridical, because you look at the past with it was like 20/20 vision. Things look different when you move on, and so you might look at things better than how it was in the past. This is why I'm not nostalgic, is because I remembered like some of the things. I would look back and be like, oh, wasn't that a better time? And then I'd start thinking about it, be like, no, it wasn't. I could remember like what happened, and like I don't like being nostalgic because every time I've been nostalgic in the past, I'd be like, no, it was shitty. And so it's like these are non-veridical memories. So it's like, why be nostalgic if when you remember it, it wasn't as you thought it was? Okay. 1. Time comparison accounts of nostalgia. To begin with, 3 general notes must be made. Oh, did I forget? No, I didn't. Okay. To begin with, 3 general notes must be made about the scope and assumptions of this discussion. None is controversial. First, I will treat nostalgia as an current emotion or affective experience rather than simply a fascination with the past. Yeah, you have to be feeling nostalgic. It's not just that you are looking into the past or you're fascinated with it. You have to be feeling the nostalgia. Second, I will be concerned with nostalgia as it is brought about by the kind of memory which at least appears to be a reliving of the individual's phenomenal experience during that earlier moment. Okay, so feeling nostalgic is a reliving of the past? I don't know about that, but okay. Maybe that's why they're concerned about the truth, because you're not reliving the past. Alright, several names for this form of memory have been proposed, but the most enduring designation is episodic, coined by Endel Tulving in 1972. Because my focus is on episodic and so personal memories, I will ignore the sense in which the longing to experience bygone eras is sometimes referred to as nostalgia. Yeah, so if like you want to be back in the 50s or something, and that's where you think you would have fit in the best, or like maybe you thought you would fit in the best in like the Renaissance, that's not nostalgia, that's something else. Third, the author takes nostalgia to be among those emotions which necessarily have cognitive content, roughly the implicit or explicit thought that the object of one's episodic memory is both unrecoverable and desirable. Thus, the content of nostalgic emotion episodes is an amalgam of the particular object of the memory and the attitude of desire towards it. Yeah, so you want to be back feeling the way you were back then. Alright. Alright, so I have a little footnote there. Any adequate view of nostalgia will acknowledge that it involves a felt difference between past and present. The very irretrievability of the past is salient in the experience. However, many accounts claim that there must be a more specific difference between the past and the present. These accounts identify the operative difference in the respective attributes or qualities of two temporally distinct states of affairs. I will call such accounts time comparison accounts and consider two versions, naming each after the necessary conditions it stipulates for episodes of nostalgia. The naivete requirement demands that there be a particular discrepancy in knowledge between the past and the present. The poverty of the present requirement claims that nostalgia involves an evaluation that the past was preferable to the present. The phenomena to which these accounts appeal are familiar and indeed present in some nostalgic experiences. However, neither is necessary for nostalgia in the manner that is typically believed, even when the particular nature of the nostalgic past is an important factor in the experience. Make philosophy great again. See, this is some of the genius of Trump as a marketer. He knows people are like this. They believe, and this is what actually fascists do all the time. It's fascist playbook 101 to just try to retrieve a forgotten glory. Don't worry, like, you, whatever group you are, you used to be great, you were great, but the minorities and those evil people are keeping you down from your former greatness. And this plays on the nostalgic impulse that people have to remember things with like rose-colored glasses, feel like it's better. So the nostalgic past, but it's how it goes. And so you get this in philosophy too. People be like, as you point out, they say, oh, the philosophy of the past was better. Now, that's not to say there aren't shitty things nowadays and there's some crappy trends in philosophy, but there were crappy trends back then too. But you know what happens? Those get forgotten because they were crappy, and so all that's left is the good. So it's a survivorship bias, You only remember the good things because that's what lasts. All the crappy stuff falls away because it was crappy. So, yeah, well, definitely, and it sounds like going back with your ex over and over. Yeah, survivorship bias is a real thing. You only remember the good things because that's what lasts, or you remember all the shitty things, but the shitty things fall away because you don't want to think about them. Lumpy says Trump's language is also very earwormy because it's 100% keyword and no subtlety. Yeah, well, he's a marketer. I mean, I always felt that Trump, if he was not born to a billionaire, basically, into a billionaire family, then he would have been in marketing and probably done pretty well for himself as a marketer. So, okay. Very earwormy. Yeah. Okay. The naivete requirement. The past directedness of nostalgia encourages characterizations of the experience, emphasizing the importance of hindsight. Yeah, so you're looking back. For example, Richard Moran claims of nostalgic or wistful forms of imagination that it is part of their essence to capture a sharp sense of the difference between the world as represented by the naive state of mind of one's former self and the then unappreciated truth about the transience of that former world. Okay, so you're looking back at your former self and sort of like, oh, how cute you were, how cute things were back then when you didn't know all the heavy things you know now. That's an interesting version of it. It's about your own naivete. All right, now I'm understanding a bit better. On this view, a necessary condition for nostalgic memories is that they be directed at times when one was unaware of the impermanence of one's surroundings. This theme is echoed by Susan Stewart, according to whom the nostalgic person dreams of a moment before knowledge and self-consciousness. Yeah, so this is like Garden of Eden shit. This is like before you knew things and you were in the Garden of Eden where things were so like wonderful and great until God kicked you out for eating the not the poisoned apple, but the apple from the tree of knowledge. Technically not an apple, probably was a pomegranate, but we in the West like to think of apples because it means stuff to us. I don't think it's ever mentioned in the Bible. Anyway. Yeah, so this is a biblical sort of thing. Okay, continuing. Likewise, Svetlana Boym, I like that name, Svetlana Boym, concludes her long study of nostalgia with the claim that we are nostalgic for a time when we were not nostalgic. Well, I was never not nostalgic, so... Oh, no, I was never nostalgic, so whatever. Apple was a kind of more generic term. Really, Maddie, I didn't know that. Because I had read something, it was maybe the Michael Pollan a while back. He was basically saying it was, we use Apple, but, I mean, Apple still meant Apple. Like, it was more likely a pomegranate is what people were thinking about back in the day. But okay, if you say so. I don't know. So yeah. Time when we're not nostalgic, a state of mind not yet initiated into loss. Yeah, so before the fall, before the fall of grace. I'll call this the naivete requirement. Maddie says, as late as the 17th century, the word also functioned as a generic term for all fruit, including nuts, such as the 14th century Middle English expression, apple of paradise, meaning banana. Oh, interesting. Cool. Did not know that. Should ask Kali Oxenfree about that. Kali is a linguistics streamer I was watching earlier today. She, I think, is actually in the Philosophy Friends command. Yeah, so if you want more linguistics and language stuff, Kali Oxenfree streams usually on Sunday mornings. Eve couldn't resist the green message background. Yeah, that's true. That's why you get things like pomme de terre in French potatoes. Okay, yeah, apple of the earth. Okay, cool. What's that in lumpy? I'm missing something. Okay, I missed something. Oh, because apple in the early languages was close sounding to sin. Oh, I did not know that there was a. Oh, that's cool too. Corn is a similar word for generic grain, but got pushed into one specific group. Peepo Hey, what's up, Reading Rap? Yeah, I don't think I have Peepo Hey, but how you doing, Reading Rap? We're talking nostalgia today. Okay. Yeah, so your nostalgic means there was a time when you didn't know all the crappy things or the heavy things, not necessarily crappy, all the heavy things you learn later. So you like your innocence, your naivete. Okay. It is true that expressions of nostalgia often describe gazing back across this particular epistemic gap. Likewise, episodes of nostalgia typically involve a perception of transience, but there is less reason to believe that the transience of the former world must necessarily have gone unappreciated. In fact, we should doubt an account of nostalgia that demands that there be a discrepancy between past naivete and present wisdom. The reason comes out of the fact that we can imagine the present as the subject of a future memory. One can be aware of the impermanence of one's present surroundings. The question is then whether it is possible to nostalgically remember experiences which featured such awareness. Yeah, so if you're thinking about now that you know this is going to leave you, can you now be nostalgic for the now? Probably not. Unreal says, knew somebody who had the email signature C'est la vie, c'est la care. I don't know how to say that stuff. Je n'ai pas une pomme de terre. Okay, someone who knows more French can correct me and tell me what that means. Because I speak English in bad English. I don't know what it means. Another one of my failings. I really need to learn some more stuff. C'est la vie, c'est la guerre, ce n'est pas une pomme de terre. So, this is life, that's war, and it's a apple of the earth. So it's a potato. Okay. Something like that. Thank you, though. That's life. That's where that's not a potato. I got you. See, n'est pas. Yeah, see, I missed the negation on that. Okay. Yeah, so. C'est la vie, c'est la guerre, c'est la n'est pas pomme de terre. I'm like, traladi, tralada, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I should learn some other languages. My brother moved to Belgium. What day is today? Sunday. So he moved on Monday. Last Monday. He moved to Belgium on Monday. French is a joke language? Yeah, haha. I'm sure the French love that. Yeah, so my nephew is going to grow up learning French, probably. Because I think he's going to be in a daycare where they'll teach him French if he does not know it. Because he only speaks a little bit of English. So I'm going to have a nephew who speaks French. I should probably try to learn something like this one of these days. It's also good for philosophy, but 7 learns and pronounced correctly. Now 1 pronounced correctly. I have no idea how to uso and not pronounce correctly. Yeah, not 1 pronounced correctly. Yeah, I have no idea. Uso, no idea. They're in Wallonia. They're in where are they in Belgium? They're in, I think, the capital, whatever it is. Blanking because I lose as soon as I'm like streaming or drinking. I lose names. Wassel. Okay. They are in wherever all the embassies are. I think they're by the embassies at the moment. I don't know. Yeah, they're in Brussels. Thank you. Thank you. I can remember it was with a B, but I can't remember the names of anything. The north is all Dutch speaking. Brussels like half and half. Yeah, so they're in Brussels. And the they were able to get him signed up for a daycare because they signed him up like last year. It was new and it was opening up because usually it's very hard to get daycare there. And so his first day of daycare is tomorrow. So yeah, so they're in Brussels and he's got daycare and they're gonna see they said he's gonna learn French, I think. So yeah. But yeah, I should learn to like speak something so I could go talk to the people in Europe. Okay. So yeah, could you be nostalgic for the now if you think, oh, you're so naive right now? There is no reason to think that this is impossible. Indeed, it would be odd if, simply by reflecting on a moment's transience, one thereby inoculated it against future longing. Yeah. So like the fact that you're thinking about how transient it is now does not mean you can't be nostalgic about now in the future. And so it's like, yeah, so the transience, as long as it's transient, doesn't mean you have to be in the future to be concerned with transience. Yeah. But then it is implausible that nostalgia depends on the future self's superior awareness of the past impermanence. This common view of nostalgia's conditions fails to capture the full range of genuinely nostalgic experiences. The naivete requirement can appear to be definitional when our crop of examples is limited to memories of innocence, especially those which portray early childhood, but once we recognize that nostalgia is not so limited, the requirement seems ill-fitting. I mean, is it really just the impermanence or is it the fall? Because I was saying this is more like when you were ignorant. And it's like, yeah, well, the fact that you can say I'm ignorant now, because everyone's ignorant of something now. I'm ignorant of many things right now. But like, you don't know what you're ignorant of right now is the problem. Like, I don't know what I don't know. That's the reason I don't know it. And so in the future, I will then know what I didn't know now. And so I feel like the naivete is not, I feel like it's more epistemic than they're giving it credit for. It's not nostalgic for a time when we were not nostalgic. It's a nostalgic when we didn't have these heavy thoughts we have. If you hadn't mentioned this was written 12 years ago, I could have guessed by the use of Trajan Pro as the font. See, that's funny. Like, did you hear about that Vipers where someone got a contract, like they tried to fake a contract, and they were able to prove that they were using the wrong font from too many years ago, and they had like some multi-million dollars, like they were going to lose millions upon millions of dollars, and then they were able to prove that like the contract that they provided was fraudulent because they were using the wrong font. What's up, Adam and Rapture? Yeah. You're an expert in things you don't know. Yeah. Dan Rather? Was it Dan? Did that happen? I don't think it was Dan Rather, but maybe. Oh, was that the George W. Bush? Was that what it was? Was it the Dan Rather document? Oh, he had something similar. Okay. Yeah, no, it was actually, yeah, this was a big deal for whatever reason at the time, Vipers. Like it was a bit, like something was, happened. It was the Bush stuff. Yeah, Dan Rather published an article criticizing George W. Bush, which some things were real funky about it. But like, I don't think it actually, was as, like, Bush, like, tried to make it like, oh, the journalists are coming after me. I don't think it was actually that bad, because Dan Rather never walked it back. Like, the, CBS walked it back. I don't think Dan Rather walked it back. I think, like, whatever it was it actually still held up, but, like, it became a big scandal, because he was trying to say, like, Bush lied about something. And so I was like, I don't know. But what I remember is Dan Rather was like, nah, it held up. It just was like, what that one document was wrong, but like, it was something bad. Font choice exposed fabricated document. Oh, is this it? Oh, what it was, I remember, now I'm remembering more. It was a fashion contract. It was something in fashion. Blah, 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 let's see. Okay, so this is, okay, this was a, yeah, this wasn't what I was thinking about, but this is something else. This is a, So a legal document of having to do with an inheritance. Interesting. A loan repayment. Cool. CBS walked back because the letter had used the half button, which was rather rare for a keyboard at the time. Yeah, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Yeah, you can if you can use a half button, it's possible though. So like that's kind of crappy though. Yeah, yeah. So that's what torqued. Interesting. Yeah. So font choice fashion. I think. Oh, look. Font. Old font fashion. Oh no, old fashion font contract. Let's see if it. Yeah, this is actually not so easy to search out. You'd have to go like news. Oopsie, news. Nah. So yeah, I'm just getting fashionable contracts. The one I linked, they used the Calibri font, which didn't exist at the time was the contract was supposedly written. Yeah, that's the same sort of thing. Exactly the same sort of thing happened in what I'm talking about too. They used a font that didn't exist. It was in the next version of Windows. And so, next version of Windows, you can't that contract couldn't have been written. So, yeah. But like Maddie was saying, this has come up a few times. And so you got to be like, if you're going to go forge documents, you got to be careful. Okay. So I'm a little bit concerned. I'm thinking this naivete requirement, the author may have actually been a little too narrow. Maybe they'll get back to this later, but I'm thinking like, if you're thinking that like, oh, you were so naive to not understand the transience of your life back then, it's like, well, is that really it? Or is it the epistemic? Is it more epistemic that you weren't aware of certain like heavy truths that you were sort of blissfully unaware of? Now, there's plenty of things I'm blissfully unaware of, but like its transience is not one of them. The other things I'm unaware of, I'm sure I will find out sadly in the future, but I can't really imagine them. Yes. Oh, yes, and yes, it was Amber Heard. Amber Heard said she used a makeup product to cover her bruises from Johnny's abuse. And then the company coming out publicly saying they released that product years later. That's what I got mixed up with. Yes, that's exactly right. Like, this is just, yeah, I got that mixed up. So that's what I think I've got crossed. But I mean, it's happened in the one Vipers and Maddie says, but the one the fashion one was, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Thank you, Rand. Yeah, Amber Heard said, yeah, I used this concealer. It was really good. And like, yeah, that concealer came out 6 months ago, not 6 years ago. So it's like, yeah, that's not the concealer you used. Viper says, nostalgia under globalized neoliberal late-stage capitalism would be an interesting paper considering that things are tangibly worse. Yeah, well, I'm sure you can sell that. Like, you could even get that like published and make money off of it just as a proof of like how bad things are. Like, people are looking for this. And I mean, you can see this in all of our media too. It's that people are selling the simple livelihood, lifestyle, all sorts of stuff now. It's a packaged thing. So much in the market made for the nostalgic needs. Yeah, absolutely. Like you look at like people wanting like the cottagecore lifestyle Instagram stuff, and like I like getting back to nature and all, but the like throwback for like a simpler time is just, it's repackaging some of the bullshit history, like the things that never really were that way. What's up, Adam? Just got here. I couldn't be a person, but could a person be nostalgic about one's ignorance of something and later not have any newer knowledge in the present about that thing? The fleeting sense of time you figure out as a kid. So this about adult conception of time and kids. Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit confused as to why they're saying they're focusing on the fleetingness of your life in this section. Because the naivete requirement, to me, sounds like, yeah, it's epistemic naivete. It's not a naivete about not understanding that things are fleeting. Like they're right about that, but like it just feels like they missed their own good point here. Needs the whole retro and vintage fashions. Yeah. I mean, of course people like stuff when they were like, there's always like 80s things in the 80s and 90s are coming back now, but that's because again, some of it was good, and then there's always like people move on, they go for the next hot thing, but then people realize, okay, some of the stuff from like back then was good, and it's like, okay. But when people overdo it, that's really where the marketing's coming in. Capitalism is like, we gotta package and sell this to the younger generation. Everyone needs to have a Nirvana t-shirt again. It's like, no, we don't. It's like, if you want to, it's like, cool, but we don't need a package. Vipers is all about solar punk, but that's because all our social infrastructure is based on the legacy of energy generation technology and the Industrial Revolution. Sure, like, it would be cool. Like, it would be good to, like, have one of these kind of punk futures where we get some cool tech and we just go all in on that, but, we're going to limp forward like we always do. If at all, frankly. Okay. The poverty of the present requirement. A more plausible time comparison account holds that nostalgia must be motivated by the felt deprivation of the older self. Okay, so maybe this is closer to what I was saying. The deprivation of the older self. In some respect, nostalgia involves a judgment that the past was better. I'll call this the poverty of the present requirement. Okay, that's not what I was saying. I was saying that, well, was the past better, or were we just ignorant of what we know now? It's not necessarily better. Again, this is not what I was saying. Okay. Viper says, we build our computers the way we build our cities over time without a plan on top of ruins. Yes. I mean, I know my, setup here in, my stream is not that good. I'm using stuff improperly to get my stream running. I've had to, hack it together. But, everyone I was watching in the last week had their alerts not working. Everyone. And it's just, all these cobbled together technologies that just, it's crazy. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't have my stupid review site up, is because I was cobbling this stuff together and it was just always a headache. I didn't want to think about it. I needed to have a day like today where I had nothing else to do and some motivation. But I figured, maybe 3-4 hours. It took 6 or 7 hours to get it working. But it's it's on top of ruins. It's just you're piling stuff together. And, now it's finally coming together a bit. Unreal says, perhaps a topic of its own, but you're interested in more specialized nostalgia of retrofuturism, kind of nostalgia for a future that never actually happened. Yeah, that's always fun too. There's the steampunks and the diesel punks, imagining if different technologies just somehow blossomed and we were able to have crazy things with diesel engines or whatever. That's always kind of those are fun because you have a sense of what a diesel or steampunk stuff was, but it's imagine a future where everyone just had a flying airship running off steam. Fun. Prediction like sci-fi says more about the present than the future. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of our media is for current consumption, not future consumption, really. Adam and Rapture and the 80s Blade Runner-ish future, which isn't at all where we are now. No, of course not. Although I completely love Blade Runner. More as I've gotten older. It's just so cool. So, although the themes have lasted where you can't tell who's human, who's turning into like with our current level of AI and chat bots, you can't tell who's human, who's not, and you have to have these void comp tests to see who really has a good Turing test for are you talking to a human or are you talking to Chat GPT? So it's you had to do what's his name, Deckard had to cross-reference so many things to finally get someone to trip up. So I mean, I feel Blade Runner is held up, at least in that sense, in sort of the questions about technology. Okay, so the poverty of the present requirement. So you have to think the past was better. Yeah. Okay, so on this view, the intentional object of nostalgia is necessarily a past regarded as preferable to the present. The idea that nostalgia essentially involves a negative evaluation of the present and a more positive evaluation of the past enjoys broad interdisciplinary consensus. For example, Robert C. Roberts claims that in nostalgia there is a disadvantageous comparison that embitters the present. That's a good word too, embitters. Historian Malcolm Chase and Christopher Shaw claim that nostalgia requires some sense that the present is deficient. The sociologist Fred Davis holds that nostalgia depends on the belief that things were better then than now, And literary theorist Linda Huckchen writes that for the nostalgist, quote, the simple, pure, ordered, easy, beautiful, or harmonious past is constructed and then experienced emotionally in conjunction with the present, which in turn is constructed as complicated, contaminated, anarchic, difficult, ugly, and confrontational. Nostalgic distancing sanitizes as it selects, making the past feel complete, stable, coherent, safe. In other words, making it so very unlike the present. Yeah, end quote. So this is what I was thinking might go for later, that there's a survivorship bias, that only the good you only remember the good stuff, rose-colored glasses, the things that were of value that lasted, and that's what you're thinking about. So if that's all you remember the past was, only the things that were good that lasted, it's like, yeah, of course everything seems great in the past, because you can't remember how you actually got those good things. Yeah. Okay, on all these views, what is necessary for nostalgia is that the desirable features of the past appear to be compromised or lacking in the present. Typically, the foregoing account is accompanied by a further assumption that nostalgia imaginatively projects desirable features onto the past, rather than represents qualities which the past possessed. In Huckchen's terms, the nostalgic past is not recollected but constructed in accordance with the present needs. I mean, I think that's about right. Like, nostalgia, you're sort of making it up. When packaged with this view, yeah, it's sort of like a historical fiction. It's set in the past. It may not be the way it was, but it's close. Viper says, I disagree. We are living in the Blade Runner cyberpunk future. It is just that each nation got a little bit of it. China, universal surveillance and social control. America, cool gadgets and staggering inequality. Russia, shadowy plots, covert ops and assassins. Japan. Yeah, that's a bit of a meme. And yeah, it's got some truth to it. Yeah, so... And of course, we've got things that we didn't really expect. So it's like some things are cool. Like, who really saw, I don't know, Twitch? Like, is that, was that ever represented in old media? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe it was. I don't know. But, it's like, yeah, we got cool things. We actually live in Lego Batman, checkmate, atheists. Exactly. So, yeah. Japan's just Japan. It's been this way for a while. Okay, when packaged with this view, the poverty of the present requirement yields an intuitively appealing story about nostalgia's psychology. First, one makes a negative assessment of the present, and then, aided by a selective memory, one flees into an idealized and imaginary past. Coupled with the projectionist assumption, then, the poverty of the present requirement is a cornerstone of the received wisdom about nostalgia. Oh, I just want to say something. I bet what I'm saying is the author's going to mention it. Usually these people are very smart, and if you think something, quite often that's where they're leading you to it. So I'm wondering if they're just going to, I'm going to agree with them in the end, because this is where we're being led. All right. Proustian nostalgia. With another model of nostalgia before us, we may begin to assess its cogency. In particular, it should be asked whether there are or could be episodes of nostalgia that do not involve regarding the past as a time preferable to the present in any respect relevant to the experience. What do we got here? Unreal. Yeah. These are the movies. Brazil, Logan's Run, Brave New World, Lord of the Flies, The Stand. We are at the nexus of all these things. So like The Stand, 1984, these are between The Stand and Brazil. Idiocracy is between Logan's Run in Brazil. Contagion, Logan's Run, and Brave New World. The Omega Man, Outbreak, Gattaca, Soylent Green, The Crazies, and you are here at all of the nexus of the insanity. That seems about accurate. Just depends where you are in the world. If you to see what bit of it you're seeing the most. Okay. All right, so back to this. In particular, it should be asked whether there are or could be episodes of nostalgia that do not involve regarding the past as a time preferable to the present in any respect relevant to the present. I will argue that the central mnemonic phenomenon described by Proust, nostalgic involuntary autobiographical memories, most famously triggered by a tea-soaked Madeleine, does not fit with this model. Instead, the Proustian phenomenon, is it Proust or Proust? I don't know these things, points away from such analysis. At the forefront of a recent boom in involuntary memory research is the work of cognitive psychologist Dorothy Bernsen. Okay, we're talking there. They're discussing Blade Runner there. According to Bernson, the involuntary memories described by Proust typically have the following main characteristics. 1. They involve spontaneous recovery of a forgotten scene. 2. The scene is usually, though not necessarily, about a remote event, such as from childhood. 3. The retrieval is heavily cue dependent without the influence of any motivation to remember the scene, such as one's current condition. 4. They are typically activated by sensory cues. 5. They involve a strong sense of reliving the past. And 6, they are accompanied by a strong feeling of joy. Proust. Okay. Yeah, closer to Proust. What returns in these involuntary memories is not just one forgotten sensation associated with the present-day cue, but as Proust's narrator Marcel describes it, the whole instant of my life on whose summit they rested. Yeah. Proust. Thank you, chat. It is the feeling of a vast context restored by a particular sensation that affords Marcel such profound happiness, even when it is bittersweet. The true paradises are the paradises we have lost. Okay, so this is saying, look, you have just some intense sort of deja vu for who knows what, but it just feels better than now. Thank you, Valpo. Alright, so Bernson's list overlooks one last characteristic of this experience, which is its typical ephemerality. In contrast with the notion of indefinitely long reveries, lucid dreams tours of one past, Proust notes that the memories have their special quality only during the second that they last. This is significant because it rescues his experience of nostalgic and voluntary memories from idiosyncrasy. Proust like juiced. Oh, there we go. Figuring in its fleetingness, the Proustian experience is of a piece with cases of nostalgia described by others. For example, in a poem called Nostalgia, Jan Zwicky refers to the emotion as a such sudden lurch, a kind of memory shock. And another poem called Nostalgia, Charles Wright describes both the phenomenon's spontaneity and its transience. Quote, "It always comes when we least expect it, like a wave, brilliant and sea white, and then sinks away." Proustian nostalgia, then, is not confined to Proust, and while it is aptly described by novelists and poets, I do not take it to be a rarefied phenomenon. What I call Proustian nostalgia is a familiar emotional experience with the above characteristics. Yeah, and I will remark again, I am an anti-nostalgist. All the times I've gotten nostalgia in the past, I've been able to be like, no, I shouldn't valorize that moment in the past. It's wrong. And I've never had this experience here where they're just like, oh, you're washed over by like a historical thing. Or if I have, I haven't thought it was great. I've been like, oh, that was weird. It's more like, I don't think I've had much deja vu either. But I'm just like, oh, that was a weird experience. But I have no feeling of that being a good thing. Because like it is a thing. Okay. So maybe I'm the wrong person to be asking about this. Alright, 5. Proustian nostalgia as a counterexample to the poverty of the present requirement. Proustian nostalgia is unmotivated, fleeting, involuntary, and as I will describe below, capable of being self-consciously directed at bad memories. Okay, that was different though, the self-consciously directed. That's not what the people above are saying. Nostalgia with these characteristics serves as a counterexample to the poverty of the present requirement. In other words, the psychological conditions and the processes involved in these episodes of nostalgia tell against the intentional object that the poverty of the present model supposes the emotional type must take. Yeah. So, yeah, because it's psychological, not necessarily sort of like a thinking thing. It's more cognitive than the emotional. Okay, the first characteristic of Proustian nostalgia that clashes with the poverty of the present model is that it is unmotivated. Importantly, motivations are not the same as cues. As described by Bernson, a motivation is some pre-existing state of the subject, such as a need or desire, which plays an enabling or causal role in triggering a memory. Findings from 6 studies summarized in Bernson 2009 corroborate Proust on the role of chance encounters by indicating that specific environmental cues are in fact the most common triggers of involuntary memories. Adam says, I wouldn't add the moral judgment as in the past moment was good or bad. When I hear songs from the past, I'm like, I recall where I was when I first heard the song, and I recall the feeling I felt back then. Yeah, but is that nostalgia? I think they're saying nostalgia has a longing for the past. So this is the question. The idea that you can experience the way things were is fine, but it feels like there is something in this in nostalgia that it's a yearning for the past. Okay. Yeah, still arguing sci-fi in chat. Yeah, I mean, I'm with Vipers on this one. Whenever people are writing, it's for the now. So the world building is there to serve the story. Yeah. So the reason you do these sorts of fictional worlds is because you want to bring something out in like that you want to talk about now, but you make it into the world so it's more obvious there. So that way you have to talk about it. So yeah. So yeah, I'm with the Vipers on this one. Since we are not in control of the majority of stimuli with which we come into contact, this result underscores the accidental nature of involuntary autobiographical memories. So this is the Proustian one, but maybe I'm actually wondering, should we separate it out? And I'm with Adam also on this. Maybe what Adam is saying is that these sort of Proustian memories, maybe we need two versions of nostalgia. We've got the ones where we long for the past, and then this other sort of Proustian sort of thing that just hits you. And that may not be the same phenomena. Okay, author says, on the other hand, nostalgia, as it is described by proponents of the poverty of the present requirement, is the paradigm of a motivated experience. Yeah, remember, in this paradigm, it's that the now sucks. Poverty of the present. And that is definitely not what's happening in this Proustian thing, or I think with Adam, with the add the moral judgment. But if you're saying poverty of the present, that is putting the moral judgment, or at least the aesthetic judgment, on the present. Okay, a definitive feature of the view is that nostalgia is a response to a felt deprivation in the present. Such a view, therefore, seems badly equipped to capture the unmotivated nature of Proustian nostalgia, which relies on accidental memories. And even when Marcel's nostalgia has the apparent function of ameliorating his gloom, the emotion is still brought about by a chance rather than design. The fleetingness of Proustian nostalgia provides a second reason to suspect that the poverty of the present requirement is spurious. This can be seen by considering whether on the poverty of the present model we would expect nostalgia to be ephemeral. If nostalgia were necessarily a matter of being dissatisfied with the present and thus escaping to the chapter of one's autobiography brushed with the brightest gilt, it is unclear why the escape should be terminated so abruptly. On that picture, we might expect to see nostalgists languishing in their memories, but in Proustian nostalgia, the world in which they allegedly seek refuge quickly vanishes. In other words, here too, the poverty of the present account seems at odds with this phenomenon. Remember, if you were here at the beginning, they said you are not allowed to talk about people who just want to live in a different time. That's exactly what it seems like they're arguing here, that these are people who want to live in some other time. Maybe it's not some distant past, but in their own past. So I'm not 100% sure. I think it's as simple as the past is free from anxiety. You survived after all. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking also. It's that you are feeling better because you, in the past, you got by it and you've got all your current problems now. So you're with heavy thoughts and a heavy heart now because of all the shit that's going on now. The past, on the other hand, you don't have all those extra problems. So, yeah. I mean, of course, everyone has particularly bad days in the past, but no one's nostalgic about those. You don't think about those. So, all right. Third, the very involuntariness of Proustian nostalgia is so obvious it is easy to overlook. It sits uneasy with nostalgia as depicted by the poverty of the present model. The involuntariness. Okay. Yeah. The fact that the model treats nostalgia as having a fairly straightforward rationale, rejection of one thing and consequential embrace of another, makes it fit naturally into a voluntaristic paradigm. But building, assessment, comparison, ranking, and rejection into the experience sits awkwardly with the Proustian nostalgia absence of intention. Yeah, so this just hits you as like, you hear music and it just hits you. That's not the same thing as like, oh, I dislike the present, I like the past. Furthermore, the poverty of the present requirement is typically accompanied by some version of a projectionist thesis, suggesting that nostalgia edits the past in order to make of it a rosy inversion of the present. Yet it is not clear how to square the designing of such a fantasy with Proustian nostalgia's spontaneity and surprise. It is true that Proustian recollections of experiences are qualitatively different from those experiences as they were originally lived through, but the poverty of the present model assumes that such differences are part of a deliberate fantasy. The model thus seems better suited to accommodate complex imaginative undertakings than nostalgic experiences in general. In fact, given the motivations and needs attributed to the nostalgist on this model, it is mysterious why the nostalgist would look backward to an unrecoverable past at all, rather than forward to a utopian future that they might also construct. I bet they do, though. I like this author is saying, well, why don't they do this? I bet they do. And I bet people who are nostalgic also have, active imaginations. You might be seeing me every so often if you see me around. Drop this Wanky the Elephant. This is Wanky the Elephant emote. This is from the Daniel Matt stream. He's one of my favorite streamers. He is a writer and he writes sci-fi. And whole thing about him is he talks about memory and being nostalgic all the time. We are very different people. Wanky the Elephant, he likes the elephant because elephants are supposed to have a great memory. And so, he is a fiction writer. He has always said that he's always had an overactive imagination. And so it's he gets nostalgic because it's his theme of his stream is memories and remembering stuff. He says, "Remember me and I'll remember you." He ends every stream with, "Remember me and I will remember you." Something like that. And so his whole stream oriented around memories. And it's but he has a overactive imagination. He's a fucking fiction writer, award-winning fiction writer. So it's yeah. You just gave me nostalgia for Wanky the Shit Demon. Yeah, what was that? The piece of shit from South Park? Yeah. So yeah, that's Wanky the Elephant there, and yeah. So yeah. And excessive profanity was trying to make fun of him. He's what is this fucking wanky elephant you got there? It's yeah, no. And then the name stuck. Hanky the Christmas Bro. Yes. Oh, Wanky the Shit Demon. Yeah, that was something else. That's right. He loves me and he... yes. Hanky the Christmas Bro. Oh, let's see. What does Viper have for us? Is this safe for stream? Yes, I remember though. I'm not going to watch this whole thing now though. This was funny. Wanky the Shit Demon. Yeah, I'm not going to... But yeah, you can see that real briefly there. You don't know. So. Okay, so... I'm just a little concerned that the author here has shifted topic a few too many times. They above they said something like, "Hey, look, there's this epistemic gap," or this a thing where you're sort of what was it called? So yeah, this is this is the naivete requirement, something about knowledge, and then we've got this deprivation thing, but they keep sort of shifting what there's just always another phenomena, because then once they said wasn't being naive about the transients. Well, it's well, you could be naive about other stuff. And they said, well, what about deprivation? Well, the deprivation, then they shift over to, well, you don't have to be deprived. You can still be nostalgic without thinking you're deprived. But are we sure these are all nostalgic, or are they using the word nostalgia to capture maybe a family phenomena, but ones that don't completely overlap? Now, that is okay in philosophy to be all right, we're investigating the multifaceted understanding of nostalgia that we all have. But if you're going to say, well, all these theories are wrong, it's it's a little unfair. Yeah, maybe they don't cover all the things, but it's should we have expected them to cover all the things that nostalgia is talking about? Maybe not, Maybe not. Maybe if there's a few phenomena that are covered by nostalgia, maybe we just need a few different terms, and then, one term fits one kind and the other term fits the other kind. Nostalgia 1, nostalgia 2. We got the Proustian nostalgia and maybe some other kind of nostalgia. Fine. It's that's not a big deal either. All right. These are things I'm a little worried about. It's did they make a mountain out of a molehill here? It doesn't matter they got published and it's not a bad essay. I'm not really very angry about this essay, but it's just it's so what? Okay. A final feature of Proustian nostalgia presents a different kind of challenge to the poverty of the present model. This is Proustian nostalgia's ability to be directed at a past which was experienced as negative at the time. Just thinking Turbo Proust would be a good title for a book on behavioral economics. Yeah, like you were saying earlier, the sort of late stage capitalism marketing of like a better past, like something like that. Turbo Proust. Like super nostalgic stuff, you could do that. As Joshua Landy observes, Marcel experiences the same emotion when he remembers not just happy times, but also mundane and even traumatic moments. According to Bernson, the fact that the memories are not necessarily happy shows that their affective quality does not in any transparent way derive from the remembered scene itself. The diagnosis implied by the poverty of the present model is that nostalgia for the bad is a matter of the nostalgist isolating a selected feature of the remembered time and expunging it or whitewashing the context. In Proust, however, the badness of this object of some nostalgic memories is an undisguised, even salient feature of the memories themselves. Notoriously, there is precious little that is edited out of Proust. Yeah, see, why is it notorious? Like, were people like saying this is not how it was Proust? Maybe this is hinting at the fact that people don't exactly agree with Proust's version of nostalgia. Okay, instead, the representations that provoke the emotional response are described in exhaustive detail, apparently unbowdlerized. Haven't seen that word in a while either. Unbowdlerized. Landy notes that even the famous Madeleine, quote, sums up nothing more than Aunt Leonie's room on a Sunday morning, a scene laid out in all its tedious and pathetic detail over 6 long pages, prefaced by the broad disclaimer, to live in Cambrai was a trifle depressing. Again, with the words. Pathetic, not pathetic, but bathos, not pathos. I can't even remember what bathos is, but I know it's slightly different. I used the word pathetic once, and my teacher just like crossed it out. I was like, no, I meant that. Pathetic. Bathos. I want to know. I want to remember now. Literary term for anticlimax of amusing failed attempts at sublimity or pathos. So it's failed. So an abrupt, presumably unintended juxtaposition of the exalted and the commonplace, producing a ludicrous effect. An anticlimax. Yep. Okay. Good to know. An effect of anticlimax created by an unintentional lapse. Okay, thank you, Vipers. The feeling when the bath salts kick in, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so even though... Agni, what the hell? You're streaming. Oh my god, thank you for the raid. Yeah, that may be so, Valpo. Everyone working on Bruce gets a little schmancy. What's up, Agni? How you been? What's up? JT Farms, Christine the Bean. Oh, Raid City. All the Chicago people coming by. How you doing? Chicago represent. Yeah, welcome in, welcome in. How's it going? Let's give Agni a shout out. Shout out the Evolve Yourself. Oh, buddy. Yo. How am I doing, my man? Oh, I'm doing all right. You know, I'm doing okay. A boogie on up. There we go. Welcome in. Yeah, I'm doing okay. How was your stream? What was going on? Hi, friends. If you don't know me, I'm Noah. Call me Noger, No Gray, No Grayo, whatever. It's cool. I'm a philosopher, and we read philosophy here on Philosophy Roulette streams. Because you can see, we're talking about nostalgia today. And theory of nostalgia. And it's kind of one of the things I do. Just, you know, pontificate, bullshit, a little bit of philosophy, then go see if anyone actually has anything to say. Like, so it's what we do. Every time we take a look at what others do, I get thrown back here. You know, it's not a big crew, like in terms of philosophy. So it's like, everyone kind of supports each other. It's good. Yeah. So yeah, welcome in. How am I doing? I'm all right. You know, been okay. My brother moved to Europe this week. He literally left Monday night to move to Belgium. So I've been busy as fuck, really. Oh, you did a guided meditation and then watched Tool's Parabola. Nice. That's good. I mean, That's a lot of fun. Tool does some Tool's fun. I know, like, people get up in arms about Tool, but like, I like them. I'm not into the heavy rock, so whatever. Shitty pizza here, yeah. I was telling Agni, I was telling them, I found one of the last. He went to Belgium, on Monday. Agni, I found one of the last remaining 99-cent pizza places in New York. I was there on Wednesday. I had 2 slices of 99-cent pizza, and it was okay. It was like, for 99 cents, it was pretty good. And it was like, all right, yeah. We used to have them all over the place, and it was just like, not anymore. Like, rent is too high. And yeah, 99-cent pizza. I was like, I'm gonna tell everyone on stream that I had like one of the last remaining things. It was at 55th and Broadway. So yeah. So that it was okay. I'm not saying it was good pizza, but I was saying for $1 it was great. So yeah. But anyway, as always, like, welcome in Raiders. We discuss stuff. Feel free to ask whatever you want. There's no guarantee I will answer, but like, if you have something question about what we're reading, feel free to let me know, and I'll try to figure out what's going on. That's basically, I'm just trying to figure out. And then at the end of the paper, we rank it and we give it a review. And oh yeah, Agni, take a look. I actually have my review site almost up. So like, this is for Philosophy Roulette 502. This is like the abstract. This is the video review, and then we've got the emotes here down at the bottom. So it's like it's coming together, man. It's coming together. So it's like, yeah, almost there. It's taking too long. So, but now I'm starting to worry about, like, I might market it, like put the links out there and stuff. Once it's up there forever. Well, not really, but it might be up there forever. You know, be fun. Okay. So yeah, so we're just saying that Proustian nostalgia, you can remember the most mundane things, but even this, and they say, and yet the onset of this memory gives Marcel a shiver of pleasure. It's like the fact that you can remember even mundane, boring, or shitty stuff so well and just like be in that moment is like, you like that. Oh, when am I coming to Europe? Oh, Tindarios. I have to figure it out. Like, my brother is not like me. He is more nervous type. And so he has to like get himself situated. He has to go do stuff. Like, back when he was moving to Europe in the summer, I gave it 3 months. I thought I might come to Europe in the fall. Now he just got there yesterday. Minimum wait at least 3-4 months before I'd be getting out there. And also, my mom wants to go out there. My brother's my sister-in-law's mom, so his wife's mom, wants to go out and visit. So it's going to take a little time before I figure it out. I thought I would be going in October if he came in August. Like, so if he left now, I mean, maybe late summer, early fall. That's what I'd guess. Also, if I get into the conference I'm trying to get into, that might be in September, October. So then I'd have a date if I get into my diagrams conference. That's in Germany. So, but like, that'd be easy to like go to the conference and see my brother. Yeah. You can recommend the Vincent van Gogh Museum, but you have to book in like a month, so it's fucked up. Yeah, I'll definitely, if I'm going out there, I would definitely do it. So yeah. I have to learn how to say Vincent van Gogh properly too. Don't want to embarrass myself, say things weird on the internet or in person. Oh my god. Yeah. So, all right, almost done with this paper. You can see the conclusion is right there. All right. There's nothing necessarily incoherent about the statement. Quote, I see how bad it was at that time, but now I long for it. End quote. However, what is required by the poverty of the present model in cases of self-aware nostalgia for the bad is for the nostalgist to hold something more specific. Okay, they're still discussing sci-fi. Yeah. I see how bad it was at the time, but now I regard it as a preferable time to the present. End quote. For the poverty of the present requirement makes good its claim that it would have to be true that in every case of Proustian nostalgia for bad times, the present vantage point from which one retrieves the memory is judged to be even worse. That might happen sometimes, but in light of the spontaneity of the phenomenon, it seems too implausible to think that it always will. And whenever the moment of retrieval does not seem worse than the remembered past, Proustian nostalgia will be a counterexample to the poverty of the present requirement. Oh wow, you went when it was in Detroit. That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, cool. Okay. Conclusion. Let me think about this for a sec. I was saying that maybe the naivete is like you feel like you didn't have the burdens that you have now, and that's what the naivete should have been focusing on, not the transience of the experience of the past, but on the burdens you now carry with you that you don't have. That would work for Proust too, because in the past you didn't have the burdens. Even if it was a shitty day or a trivial day, the fact that you don't have the burdens you carry with you now, back then, that would still work for the Proust. So I'm still thinking that the author misread the naivete requirement in this paper. But let's see what this is a long conclusion. It's 2 full pages here. So maybe they'll say something about this. Conclusion and evaluative implications. I have argued against 2 prevalent assumptions about nostalgia. First, that it always targets past innocence or naivete, and second, that it always targets a past regarded as preferable to the present. Where these theses stumble is in their neglect of variety. They mistakenly make requirements out of mere forms the phenomena can take. Thus, it can be perfectly accurate to call one's longing for the superior past nostalgia, but it is inaccurate to call nostalgia longing for the superior past. Instead, I believe that a fairly loose characterization of nostalgia's intentional objects is the only one that can be given. Alright, so now they're just going with, it has many meanings. All these theories we gave were not accurate. What is targeted in episodes of nostalgia are memory representations of an unrecoverable past, seen at least in the moment as meriting desire. Beyond that, the emotion is more distinctive for its bittersweet affective character than for the sort of past it is directed towards, or the relationship that obtains between that time and now. The phenomena of self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad raises further puzzles of its own. I will close by mentioning one that concerns its evaluative implications. Nostalgia is among a relatively small class of emotional types that tend to be considered categorically inappropriate in one sense or another. While the aim of my argument has not been to vindicate nostalgia, my conclusion does reveal the spuriousness of one common reason for denigrating it. Whatever else may be objectionable about nostalgia, it is not essentially a form of deliberate escapism. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting nostalgic just on, like, it just happens, because it's going to just happen, it doesn't have to be deliberate, and that's an unfair characterization of it. I just think you're being stupid, but, like, it may not be deliberate. And that's my opinion. Like I said, I do not like nostalgia. I think it is, you're generally mischaracterizing things. Now, the Proustian one is, like, involuntary. Well, then it's just a bodily function. It's neither good nor bad, but, like, whatever at that point. Even this modest defense of nostalgia may seem revisionary. I'm inclined to see it as unsurprising. Like other emotion types, it could be that nostalgia admits of appropriate and inappropriate episodes, depending on the circumstances. However, the evaluative status of self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad might be significantly more counterintuitive. In self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad, something about the memory strikes the nostalgist as non-veridical. The nostalgist knows the past in question was unpleasant at the time, but in memory it is altered by certain effects. For example, the memory has acquired a gold patina, or it seems to be an uncanny distillation of a whole time period. Thanks for the lurk, and thanks for the raid, Agni. Appreciate you. Hope to see you around. Yeah, be safe, good luck, and don't get caught. Neither effect strikes the self-aware nostalgist as true to the equality of one's experiences at the time when those memories were encoded. Yet they are part of what is targeted by the nostalgia. The emotion seems to be directed precisely at the fictional features of the memory image, things which one recognizes to be not inside the scene on the other side of the window, but drawn onto the glass. Okay, very cute way they describe it though. In this way, self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad gives rise to the much-discussed paradox of fiction, only outside of the usual context of art spectatorship. The canonical problem asks how audiences can feel things for people or situations in artworks that they know to be fictional. Anna Karenina, for example, or some menacing slime. Here, the same puzzle arises between the rememberer and the memories she regards as non-veridical. When the self-aware Proustian nostalgist longs for bad times, she suspects that those times are being presented in some aestheticized fashion by her memory, and longs for them anyway. Thus, just as we may ask how audiences can have feelings in response to events they believe are fictional, we may ask how the nostalgist can feel desire in response to a memory they believe to be relevantly altered. I mean, all of our past is altered. They've done more studies. Maybe this is like being from 12 years ago. They have not had as many studies, but more and more psychology studies is showing that like our history is more of a construction. Frank says, why ask how the audience can feel for fiction? Why wouldn't we? Well, that's the question. Like, we go to the movies, Frank, and like you see something explode or come at you. It's like you go to a horror flick. Like, why do you feel scared when you're sitting in a room when images are on a screen, but you know it's on a screen? Like, that's why you went to the movies. So the question is, why do we actually get like afraid in the movies? And if you were actually afraid, you would leave the movie theater. Some people do, of course. They can't handle it. But the question is, what exactly is going on in these sorts of like, why are you putting yourself through the fear? And then how could it be real fear? Because otherwise you would get up and leave. So it's not so much like, why do they do it? Of course, why wouldn't we? The question is more specific about like what is going on when we do these sorts of things. So, yeah, just to be, the philosophers aren't being stupid here. That's just what I want to say. Like the question is, what is the value of aesthetic experiences? Not that it's like it's stupid that we have them or it's stupid to criticize them. It's like, yeah, we know. They know. Yeah. You might as well ask why we don't like pain even when we aren't being damaged. Well, I mean, do you like fear when you're not even afraid? Because that's just the senses working. Well, yeah, but why would you go simulate pain in that case? Why would you go? Some people, like, you see people getting beaten up on, a martial arts flick. So, like, do you feel the pain of those people? Sometimes you're like, ooh, that looks like it hurt. That happens. So why do we like getting ourselves in situations and be like, ooh, that looks like it hurt? Like in, say, some Bruce Lee thing where Bruce Lee punches a guy really hard and he's like, oh, wow, that looks bad. It's like, what's going on in that sort of aesthetic experience? So, yeah. Okay, so let's reread this because I don't know where I was. However, we might resolve the paradox of fiction in this context, that is, whichever way we explain how such nostalgia comes about, there is at least intuitive support for the judgment that these emotional episodes are unfitting. Nostalgia strikes us as inappropriate when it is directed at an image of the past that diverges substantially from the real one. The fact that the nostalgist suspects this discrepancy only seems to make things worse. It seems plausible to think that self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad is the model of an inappropriate emotion. Yeah. Yet this evaluation might be premature. As we have seen in self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad, the fictional or aestheticized features of the memory are part of the intentional object of the emotion, but the more that the remembered past diverges from reality, the less the emotion's standards of fittingness might be beholden to the actual past. Such nostalgia we have seen is analogous to emotions directed at artworks, and an emotion directed at an artwork can be fitting even when the same emotion directed at what that artwork represents would be unfitting. Compare the feelings that are fittingly directed at paintings of massacres with those directed at the massacres themselves. So if the analogy with emotions about fictions is as strong as it seems, nostalgia could be protected from unfittingness just where it looks the most guilty, that is, when it is knowingly directed at an aestheticized past. Yeah, so again, if you're treating your past like a movie, maybe it's like you just like having the sort of like the movie experience of horror films. Like maybe not, maybe that's why. It does something for you now that you like. So, and I know people here are into horror, so like wave to your Aristotle because he likes his horror. Okay. This potential vindication of self-aware Proustian nostalgia for the bad is just one surprising result of taking nostalgia more seriously than it has been. The philosophy of emotions has so far neglected emotions directed at autobiographical memories. What the various permutations of nostalgia suggest is that an adequate account of past directed emotions will have to confront difficult issues raised by dominant constructive theories of autobiographical memory, and in particular by emotions directed at memories midway between veridicality and confabulation. Okay, dokie. Out of the University of Toronto. All right. I don't think this was that bad, but let's give it a review. Like, do you have anything to say about it? So, for anyone new here, this is the emote review. As you can see, emotes in chat below you, and as described over here to my, I guess, right in the video, you can type in the name, which is given by Braindance, Nog Grapes, Nog Navel, or whatever. These are BTTV emotes. If you don't have BTTV installed, or 7 Frankerface or whatever, you should be able to see them. And you can also use the vote yay, vote nay, the global Twitch emotes. So if you thought this was a good paper, you can give it a vote yay. So Viper says, yeah, it was solid, nothing revelatory, but solid. Yeah. So I kind of disagreed with like some of the choices they made, but like, so what? Like, it wasn't a bad paper. It surveyed the some of the main theories. They made their argument. They brought up a bunch of literary references, which was kind of not bad. So you know what's going to happen? I'm going to give it a vote yay. I mean, this is not a crazy thing. I'm also going to give it a scream. I don't normally get to talk about Nog Scream, but this talked about like a bunch of artistic stuff with Proust. So it's going to get a Nog Scream too. So it's a vote yay and a Nog Scream. Did it talk about anything deep or ancient? I don't know if a nostalgia counts like an Ouroboros, like a deep or an ancient idea. Maybe it does. The fact that these are our emotions, like, it's up to you if you think so. I think this is just talking about like sort of the aesthetic experience of what it's like to have a nostalgic experience, which is fine. So you get a vote yay and a scream. Let's see. We've got an Unreal Brian says a Braindance and a nay. So yeah, Braindance is fun. Thought it had fun ideas in it, but they didn't like the paper. Unreal Brian says, I like bringing the topic of nostalgia into consideration, and I like that they started with with literature. This, along with film, etc., is the right place to start. But I really don't like the direction they went. I've seen media studies on people on YouTube go deeper analysis of neo-noir, steampunk, etc. Yeah, so that's completely fair. Like I said, I don't really like the direction they went either. I'm still thinking they fucked up the bit on the naivete. They were like focused way too narrowly on the ephemerality feature, when I think the emotional baggage you gain as you get older on looking back at things, that is something you can't imagine when you're younger, and you can imagine when you're older. And that would fit with all the other examples of nostalgia, where you look back at your old self, even in a bad day, you don't have the problems you have today. So yeah, and Farrell, thank you for the rating. We've got a vote yay and a Braindance. Vipers gave it a knife because they thought, yeah, it was a bit of an analytic paper. Got the scream, a yay, and a Braindance too. I mean, am I giving this a Braindance? No, this kind of just... This is why I'm not giving it a Braindance, because it annoyed me, because I felt like they had some ideas, they just didn't really push it in the right direction. Adam says, yeah, all right, so a Braindance and a Nog Scream. Thank you for the reviews. And as I said, this is going to go up on a site that I'm like, it's getting there finally. It's only been like a year. So yeah, but not sold. Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't take other people's emotes because, I don't have rights to those. These emotes I paid for. I'm going to actually have to remake the Twitch global yay and nays, I think, so I can put them on my site. Yeah, so Tindarius is closer to me. Thinks gave it the grapes, so it made promises about explaining yeah, I might give it a grapes too. That's not a bad idea, Tindarius. Grapes is for when it shrivels up. They claim to explain nostalgia, and in the end said, I don't know, it just seems kind of varied, you know? So it did kind of... didn't quite make what they claimed to do from the get-go. Granted, I think at the beginning they were kind of saying, we're just going to study nostalgia. They didn't say, I don't think they may have implied, but I don't know if they came out and said, oh, we're going to do the final word. They didn't. But like, they kind of said, oh, we're going to talk about nostalgia. And at the end, they just kind of did the hand wavy thing. So I think it's very fair, Tindarius. Yeah, and then you don't have to like it, of course. Not everything's for everyone. I have a soft spot for these papers that identify a lacuna in the literature where they find something we haven't talked about and then they talk about it. Because, you bring something up that other people haven't talked about, get some new ideas. You have to stir the pot up. You have to get some fresh ideas into philosophy. And maybe this would be able to do that. So.